Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Once again, thanks to John, a guy that works with Kenzie's dad who survived the plane crash in Toronto, the Delta plane crash. If you missed that interview, it'll be on the podcast later. Unique interview. He only did Good Morning America, he did Fox News, and he did Us because he grew up near Wisconsin in Kenosha. He actually grew up listening to Q101 as a kid all the way up. So he lives in Minneapolis now because that's where that plane took off from.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he's friends with my dad and lives next to him and works with him. Isn't that crazy?
How about that? The window people of the Midwest right there.
Bringing everyone together, you know?
So now we're not done. Listen to this. We're rolling with last night, yesterday all day, Tiffany Henyard, the incumbent, a Dolton mayor, lost Tuesday's Democratic primary to trustee Jason House. This is actually mind-blowing for us. We've followed this story for nearly 2 years, and obviously WGN's Ben Bradley. We're going to have him on the air here in just about 10 minutes at 8:15. He's the one that inspired us to get into this story, and no one's covered it, obviously except for him, like we did, and playing audio. And it's, in a way, it's sad because a comedy content factory is gone, and I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, I would say at least the people of Dalton's lives are hopefully going to be better because of this.
That's the
It's
thing.
tough. It's like, what matters more, though?
The show or people's lives. I would vote the show.
I will say, I think that she's going to make a ruckus at some point in time. And I also think we could, follow the fact that I think this lawsuit with the FBI is really going to take off. I think we're going to have some more information.
Well, that's what I want to ask Ben about, the FBI investigation that's ongoing. But, obviously, and it's funny because Helen from Waukegan checked in and said, I don't know what's going on with this. I heard you guys talking about it yesterday, but I'm new to the show. Well, thank you. Welcome to the party, Helen from Waukegan, and all your friends and family in Waukegan. We appreciate you. Spread the word. But let's go back and play some of the audio that got this whole thing started. This was the Ben Bradley interview with Tiffany Henyard over a year and a half ago, where there was controversy about she went to Vegas. Did she use funds from the city there? And this was the audio that got us just dying.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that? You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
And she didn't really continue there, but what is that?
What? And I would like to say that when we talked to Ben Bradley the first time, so probably a year or two ago, right, about this, he said the craziest part of this interview, which we don't realize, is she had to approve the questions ahead of time. So it wasn't like she was taken back, like, oh, she read the question like a week before Ben showed up.
So there was another point of a lot of the interviews and the chaos going down in the board meetings, and a trustee was interviewed. This is another favorite piece of audio of Brian and Kenzie and our listeners when they interview one of the trustees trying to get some information out of him.
Trustee Jerry Jones was on that first-class trip to New York.
Still don't have a comment.
Sir, you're a trustee.
Well, once again, I don't have a comment.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Hey, got me there.
Kept his mouth shut. And the funny thing is Jason House now, who was elected in the primary to then go compete in April to be the mayor of Dolton, he was an ally of Tiffany Henyard. It's wild down there. It is out of control.
It really is.
And just a couple days ago, Tiffany Henyard herself dropped a song it's called Feed the People, to maybe get more people on her side.
And, this is real. It just doesn't we're making. I feel like I'm on SNL. Like, no, this happened.
Well, she got 12% of the vote yesterday, so she still got some people with this song. Not enough to, of course, be mayor again. But here was the song she dropped, Feed the People.
I'm starving the board. I'm feeding the people. They put me in office and treat me like it's illegal. To feed the people. To feed the people. I gave back to communities and I cleaned the streets up. I'm starving the board. I'm feeding the people. They put me in office and treat me like it's illegal. To feed the people.
Catchy.
To feed my people. To feed my people. To feed my people. From Vegas to Chicago.
Oh, boy, that last part didn't age well.
I don't understand why it was included because the story just trails off. If Tiffany Henyard ever fed you, could you please call up? Because I want to. she is apparently feeding an incredible amount of people, and I want to hear from one of them.
Well, Helen checked in again from Waukegan, texting in saying, I'm dying, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. But you, the people, wanted this. Listen, it's turned into a lot of montages with using Disturbed's Down with the Sickness. It started with our Super Bowl halftime with Kendrick Lamar, a mix I made after the Super Bowl, and it led to a Hooters commercial mixing it in. So you asked for this. I'm giving it to you. This is the Tiffany Henyard Feed the People song mashed up with Down with the Sickness, just for you.
I'm starving the bud. I'm feeding the people. They put me in office and treat me like it's illegal. To feed the people. To feed the people.
Well, there you go. You
It actually sounds like he says, what? At one point, like responding like a callback.
Okay, WGN's Ben Bradley on the phone with us when we come back here in just about 7 minutes to talk more, ask all the questions, especially about the ongoing FBI investigation about Tiffany Henyard not being the mayor of Dolton anymore.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
Well, it's been a minute since we had him back on the show, so we're really excited to bring back WGN's Ben Bradley, the Emmy Award-winning investigative reporter who has spent 25 years covering hard news in Chicago. And the story of Tiffany Henyard, and now, of course, losing in the primary election yesterday, will not be reelected or have the opportunity to be reelected as mayor of Dolton. And again, this is the piece of audio that made Ben Bradley and us friends.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No.
And Ben, welcome to the show. We appreciate you and want to thank you for all your service to Chicago and especially the city of Dolton for staying on this story for 2 years, having doors slammed in your face. And does this feel like vindication for you and also for the people? Thank you. Welcome in.
Oh, good to be with you guys again. You know, it's not about me. I feel like we were able to use the attention and the resources of WGN to shine a light on a community that needed it. You know, we were not the first ones who were raising concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's spending and leadership and allegations that she was, targeting her opponents. The trustees who 4 years ago ran with soured on her, and they were raising these issues in meetings, and some of the local publications down in the south suburbs, were doing their best to cover it. But it wasn't until we got involved, and at one point, thanks to our parent company, Nexstar, they agreed to file a lawsuit against the village of Dolton to force them to follow Illinois transparency laws and turn over spending records. So that's just a role that we are able to do in the media ecosystem, which is to say we've got the time and the resources and the spotlight to shine a light on what's going on in a community that wherever corruption is happening, those who are doing it generally count on the fact that no one's watching. And by that, I mean the residents.
Right. Absolutely. Because I get that. We're all residents of somewhere, and I feel like I'm not paying attention to local spending. You have a lot going on. You're managing, your family, your own job, things like that.
Yeah.
So what you did was so important, and we're really grateful for it because you obviously had lots of doors slammed in your face.
Ben's
Ben's
being very humble. He had doors slammed in his face and went into hostile environments to not only had the resources of WGN TV, but you did it. You were at the tip of the sword in getting this information out there. And now look at it. Now Tiffany Henyard cannot be mayor of Dolton. And I don't know much about Jason House, one of her allies, of course, back in the day. But at least there's a choice that shouldn't lead to heavy corruption in Dolton, I hope.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, and Jason House, to his credit, was one of the trustees who was speaking out against Tiffany Henyard and brought in Lori Lightfoot to do the outside investigation. So I think residents there are hopeful. Heck, they gave him 88% of their vote, which, as you know, in today's climate, you don't see too many landslides.
Absolutely. And speaking of the investigation, I know that it is ongoing. Do you have any updates? Is there anything that we should know about that investigation against her?
If anyone has insight into how the FBI operates, I would love to know, because they serve subpoenas in both of the governments that Tiffany Henyard runs, so Dolton and Thornton Township, which, you may have never heard of it, but it's the largest township in the state of Illinois, and it covers nearly a dozen south suburbs. And the FBI served those subpoenas more than 7 months ago. I know for a fact that, people who we have profiled who have said that they've been victims of corruption or retaliation under Tiffany Henyard's watch have told us that after the story aired on WGN, the next day they got a call or a visit from the FBI.
Wow.
So I know that the FBI is actively investigating this. What I can't tell you is why it takes so long. And that has been $1 million question. I mean, look at Mike Madigan, right? He was just found guilty earlier this month. The Tribune and other reporters have been reporting on the House Speaker's shady deals for 25 years.
Jeez.
Unreal. What do you think they're going to do with that ice rink down there that Tiffany Henyard built?
Well, it didn't get a lot of use under Tiffany Henyard. Residents told us it was only open when she would host events there.
Yeah.
So I hope, as I said, I went to Tiffany Henyard's quote unquote election party last night. A, I was shocked they let me in. B, it was probably because there were only 10 people there and Henyard herself didn't show up.
Wow.
As I said to somebody as I was leaving last night, a longtime Henyard supporter, I said, I hope you don't see my face down in Dolton for a long time. And they laughed and said, me too. Hey, and I do have to say, to Tiffany Henyard's credit, the mayor got on the phone with me last night. So after she didn't show up at her party, she got on the phone with me and we talked for a bit. She said, don't count her out. But she said she got the message from voters.
Well, with Brandon Johnson's approval rating at an all-time low for Chicago, is she up for a run for Chicago mayor
God,
coming up in a few years?
Don't count her out.
Oh, man.
She said don't count her out.
She is. So the township, the local Democrats refused to slate her to continue in her other six-figure job as Thornton Township supervisor. That election's April 1st, so she's not slated as a candidate, but she did file to run as a write-in. But, presumably after what we saw in Dolton last night, that's not going to work. So after the April 1st township election, Tiffany Henyard, at least for now, won't be making any money off the taxpayers.
Last question for you, Ben Bradley. And again, we appreciate you so much coming on the show over the last couple of years with this story. Tyler, one of our listeners, Tyler, checked in and said, so what's Ben's next big story on WGN TV?
Well, today we're doing a Dolton the day after, and we're going back and visiting some of the people who have been the focus of our stories. And so we'll have that tonight on the news. And then I've got a little nugget that's kind of fun about Elon Musk's Doge and the cost cutting that they've claimed as it relates to the Obama Presidential Center. So we'll have that. There's your tease. Listen, our promotions department doesn't even have that tease, so Q101 got it first.
Yes,
Let's go.
I
Let's
love
go.
the eloquent tea spilling from Ben Bradley. I love it.
Well, thank you again, and we can't wait to have you on again about these stories coming up. And Ben Bradley, WGN TV's investigative reporter, the best in the business. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Always great to be with you guys.
All right, take care, Ben. Wow, we got a little extra thing there, Kenzie.
Uh-oh.
Boom. It is interesting, that Obama Center, I remember hearing about that like 15 years ago. Something like that time frame of when that was going to be built. And as far as I know, there's not a shovel in the dirt down there on that thing.
Well, let me tell you something. Ben Bradley's on it. There's going to be shovels now. Ben's in town.
Or they're going to all be thrown in the lake. There'll be no shovels.
There will never be. There's either going to be lots of shovels or no shovel ever because he shuts it down. I don't know the angle of the story yet.
Make sure you check him out on WGN TV tonight with those stories and all day long, the Dolton stuff. And, if you missed any of that interview, if you came in at the end, it will be on the podcast, the Brian and Kenzie podcast. Such good insight from Ben Bradley of WGN TV.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Once again, thanks to WGN TV's Ben Bradley, our guy, the investigative reporter, the best in the business. For 25 years at WGN TV, with the Tiffany Henyard story, he's been on the show several times. And following that story, with us for 2 years. Now, a lot of people, again, new time texters coming in. Lauren from St. John, welcome to the party. And says, my husband has never heard the, quote, you gone, bitch audio from Dolton Town Hall.
Is that a really natural coming from your mouth?
This is important. We have to get to this.
She said, please play that. And this is the audio. This actually comes from a TV report where the fight broke out after the you gone, bitch was said.
As Jedediah Brown finished his public comments directed to Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, he ended with this.
You gone.
Before Brown could get back to his seat, Henyard's allies, including her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, confronted Brown, and punches went flying. Several men joined the tussle where people threw punches and started kicking. Security guard tried separating the men. Witnesses say Henyard, who was in the front of the room with the Board of Trustees, ran towards that tussle. Her intentions unclear, but she did lose a shoe and was thrown to the ground.
I found her intentions to be very clear, but that's just me personally.
And losing a shoe is about right in that situation, in that tussle, if you will.
Absolutely.
This is what I'm going to miss. See, I'm happy that corruption will be gone for those poor people in Dolton that struggle with all the problems where the money's going. But I'm going to miss, things like this. I'm just going to miss this, You
gone.
A comedy content factory Tiffany Henyard has been. So follow the story again. WGN TV and Ben Bradley will have more on that all day long on tonight's report. It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.